then yeah, that's the way that you're going to do it. So yeah, it's such hypocrisy. Also, you go on the school systems in the city, and everything is about like equality and diversity and whatever inclusion. But then you just go like 40 miles inland, and you see like all these people picking strawberries, and nobody ever stops. Nobody goes, "Who's picking these strawberries?" You go up to them, "Hey, why are you picking strawberries?" "No comprende inglés." You say, "Habla español?" "Sí, ¿dónde eres?" "Monterrey." "El norte de Mexico?" And then you're like, wow, these are all Mexicans. Don't ask them, what they're doing there. Don't ask them if they're legally there. But they're basically, they're like slaves, right? They're not given minimum wage. Talk to a foreman, he said, yeah, these people get like a break. We try to treat them okay. But I don't know. It's like you talk about all this nonsense, but then there's slavery right in front of your eyes, and you don't register it, right? So that's where the blindness in the coastal areas are. They're one narrative to sort of globalize. And then you visit another part of America, you realize, oh my God, Americans are starving. Not starving in terms of food, but they're starving in terms of economic opportunity. We're going to like town after town after town. They have closed factory, closed mill. Like what happened? Well, Indonesia coal is cheaper than American coal, so I guess America gets their coal from Indonesia now. I'll tell you why. It's actually pretty interesting. Indonesian coal is very close to the ocean, so it's easy to ship. Once you get a coal onto a ship, it's almost free to transport. But if coal needs to be moved by land to a port, it's very expensive. Indonesian coal is so cheap. It's cheaper than China imports Indonesian coal to power Chinese power factories, rather than China has huge coal deposits. Huge. It's like one of the largest coal deposits in the world. But they're inland. So you have to use trains to move it over, and it costs like 10 times as much using trains. With a boat, you can just scrape it out of a mountain in Indonesia, float the boat over to a power plant, and suck it out of that, and so it's virtually like free transportation.
Dore, why not use nuclear?
Well, I don't know actually. I don't know. I don't think everyone is necessarily comfortable with nuclear the way that maybe China uses a lot of solar now. I don't know. I don't think nuclear is that simple. I think coal is simple. Coal is
Just burn it.
Just burn it and it works. Like nuclear, you might need it. Fucking. Yeah. I think it's like. I think that analogy is a little bit like Marie Antoinette saying, "Madame, the people have no bread." You're like, well, let them eat cake, right? Like maybe getting nuclear is far more complicated than getting coal. So that's my 2 cents on it. But
I do watch this video by Maxionomics. You know the guy? He talks about
Asianomics.
no Maxionomics.
And what does he say?
Basically said that nuclear is very safe, and why the hell aren't we using nuclear?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they said that before Chernobyl blew up too, right?
But then the death of people from radiation Chernobyl is like nothing compared to people died in oil,
I'll
solar.
tell you this.
I think it's the portrayal.
I do agree that, okay, here's the truth. Every energy source will have a positive and negative, okay? If you've seen napalm before, and the devastating effects of napalm to people, then you'll probably see that gasoline is bad. I don't want to die in a gigantic fireball like in a napalm ball, right? So gasoline is bad. But, I mean, we use gasoline every day. We're not like freaked out by it, right? So you go, okay, there's like gasoline, but then there's also, there's fuel that are used to. I think nuclear just started with a really bad first start because it's atomic. No, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and then
Fukushima.
And this is also something you should realize, that the oil lobby loves this kind of shit, right? When they see this, they will put advertising. They'll pay for everyone to talk about that, right? Because it's beautiful. I would do that all day long. And the oil industry has billions a day to spend on. Yeah, the oil industry can spend billions a day spreading news about how nuclear is terrible. Nuclear doesn't have that capability. So yeah, partially I agree with you. I think the reason that fusion technology has not been created to
It's
this
because
day, because the oil industry doesn't want it. And they're willing to spend lots of money to suppress it everywhere they can. Because also, it's not in America's best interest to develop fusion, right? Because that's energy independence. America prefers, everyone depends on the Middle East for energy at the moment. That's why they're, anyways, energy policy is a complex global economic. It's such a positive for America to have it the way it is, and such a negative to have it anything different. So, yeah, it's a big, yeah, basically, that's why there's this Iran war right now.
Didn't they close the strait again? Because
It's clearly probably between China and the U.S. and Russia, right? Iran is just the proxy. Iran and Israel are the proxies. The real fight is between.
the big issues.
Well, Russia loves seeing America bleed, and America loves seeing Russia bleed. So they're just kind of like, yeah,
China manufactures weapons for both of them.
might as well win.
Made in China.
DJI drones, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't think DJI drones are big news for whatever, but
No.
yeah. But,
They just passed the FCC. DJI passed the FCC examination.
Which means
There's no way that data can be sent from a DJI drone back to China to spy on people unless you press agree.
unless you press agree.
On the beginning, authorize DJI to see.
why would it? I don't get that.
It's basically this. Basically,
does Canon have to sign those agreements too?
what?
Does Canon, the camera company in Japan, have to sign an agreement like that? Does Apple need to sign an agreement like that?
No, it's
I
a
mean,
political move.
It's pointless because couldn't you bring an iPhone or somewhere, and spy on people more intimately than a drone? So what's the? I don't know. It's just to hobble China. There's no other real good reason for that.
I feel like a false security.
No, it's to hobble. Okay, just think about this. Okay. All right. So, all right. Let's say you have this. So, Fasio, you are part of the Balinese government. Okay. You currently collect taxes stably, healthily, happily from hotels and pay you taxes. Relationships that you've earned over decades. Now comes Airbnb, and they are decimating
My tax income.
they're decimating the travel market because now everyone's staying on Airbnb. Airbnb hasn't decided to pay you taxes yet. Well, you as a government have every incentive to stop this, right? And of course, the hotel lobby will come to you and say, "We're partners, aren't we?" Yeah, we are, because you happen to be a huge taxpayer. Well, so do something. And they're like, "Well, yeah, I certainly do have to do something, otherwise I'm not getting income anymore." So they will. So they're like, ban Airbnb. Well, same with DJI products, right?
Yep.
So GoPro or whomever else is an established taxpayer, right? Giving jobs, giving whatever. DJI is not. DJI does not have a factory in America. Doesn't produce American jobs. Doesn't produce whatever. So why would I protect a company that's doing that? Especially if they're taking away whatever could have been done here. So I can attack them. Who's going to attack them? Everyone. Everyone on this side is going to attack them. The only people who don't want to attack are people who love drones, right? But yeah, I mean, it is a benefit to get all my citizens to, spend money. That's great. So they go and work hard again and produce some more labor or whatever. But I'm sure if I take away the drones, they'll find something else to spend money on, right? So I have no reason to necessarily cooperate with a foreign power that is selling a lot of product in my own self, right? So ban it, control it, whatever. That's how China lost Hong Kong. They banned opium. This is how fucked up things were in China back in the day, right? So China was so weak, so not have its shit together, like the opposite of what you see today, that they basically had a trade surplus with England.
Yeah.
English people like tea. All tea used to come from China. So basically, yeah, Silk Road, Maritime Passage, VOC even, I think, brought Chinese tea over to. The VOC had branches all over the place. They had branches in Sri Lanka. They had branches in
Indonesia.
Macau, in Indonesia. No, they had branches everywhere. It was just really big. So all this tea started going from China to England, and Chinese merchants were arrogant at the time. They didn't want any English manufactured products. They didn't want pewter. They didn't want English linens. They didn't want anything. They just wanted silver. The silver is not a replenishable supply. It's not like you can go and asking a bunch of people. Yeah, it's expensive. You got to dig it out, and once you spend it, it's gone. So after doing this for 50 or 100 years, the English were like, shit, they took all our silver. This is unsustainable this way. And they don't buy any renewable resource from us. If they bought renewable resource, we could balance the trade. But this is not going our way. So they were like, we need to come up with something such that we can get our silver back. So they found opium. So they sold this opium to the Chinese, and the Chinese were like, love this shit. We'll give you everything. We'll give you my life, my land, my wife, everyone, right? So all of a sudden, the silver went the opposite way. Silver was being shipped back to England, and the English were like, cool. They cultivate the opium in poppy fields in India, and then bring it into China. Just bring it in. Just no smuggling, no anything. We're like professional drug dealers, right? Through the British Indies Company. So then there was a governor in Canton, which was the port of entry. He was like, just can't keep on going with this. This is terrible. It's creating, our people are being sick. No one's working. Everyone's like an addict. So he said, all right, enough is enough. We're seizing these warehouses. And he burned them. I think first he said stop. And then he seized all the warehouses and burned them. These didn't belong to the British government. These belonged to merchants that then were licensed with the British East Indies Company. No, they were like 3 layers away. The British has a license to the East Indies Company. And then these people have a sub-license from the East Indies Company. So he burned their opium. So these people were like, you can't do that. That was like a lot of product, right? So they complained up the chain. And they're like, how dare they do that, those fucking chinks? So they basically sent the Royal Navy. They sent the Royal Navy to protect this trade passage because England was getting its silver back. They don't want to lose that, right? So they sail up the river, and this is how pathetic China is. You'd imagine, like, if somebody's sailing in your river, you could just throw rocks at them and hit them, right?
Yeah.
But so pathetic was China that they basically sailed their warships right up the river and destroyed all the cities on both sides of the river. So,
And somehow survived, and then
and somehow survived. And they were able to conquer the entire area, sailing their warships from the sea up into the rivers, which is ridiculous because you try to do that now and you get destroyed by like a whatever. But back then, that was just how pathetic China was, right? They did it in Indonesia too. You would just land like whatever, right? So then they go, all right. I think we've made our point clear. They landed a force over and they captured like the city, and then they were going to march to Beijing and capture the capital. But then, so I think we made our point clear. We're not here to fight wars. We're just here to get the fucking trade moving again. Can we all agree Chinese people should smoke opium? They're like, this is so embarrassing. So, yep. Can we agree? No. Okay, fine. Okay, so some more fighting, some more losing, some more embarrassment, and then eventually Chinese people are like, okay, fine, let's take it, right? Great. You need to pay for all the bullets we shot you too, because that wasn't free. We had to sail over here. We had to spend all this money to get you to comply.
You have to pay.
You're paying for that too. Yeah, you're paying for all the bullets that we shot and killed your people with. So they built China again. So just in case you renege on that, we're also taking 3 pieces of land. So they took Macau, they took Hong Kong, and they took Guangzhou. And now Guangzhou was still part of China. Anyways, they took 2 pieces of land. And they held it for 99 years. But when you study history, this is kind of what you realize. That's the real mechanics of how things work. It's not corruption. It's not whatever. Power. Somebody has power. Somebody has no power. So if you have no power, then you take it up the ass, right? If you have power, then you do something about it. So back to this Indonesian Chipete corruption case. It's like both sides have power. So they're not going to get anal. They're going to fight. And it's kind of fun to see where this fight might lead to eventually. Anyways, study history. Because when you know history, I think one of the greatest ways to fool young people is to tell them not to study history. And that way you'll fall for the same trick over and over again.
It's boring. It's like too
Well,
much to read.
Well, there's just no special. Rich people always make sure that their children understand history because that's basically it was paid for in blood. Usually, but okay. Here's a fun question. Have you noticed that a lot
Wait,
of wealthy people,
before the fun question,
Yeah.
we gotta end episode 2.
Okay.
Right.